wrestling fans, especially Deep South wrestling fans, you're going to recognize the guy over to the other side of the screen from me. He is Professor Payne from Deep South Wrestling, but more importantly, from the halls of Hurt University. And he is our guest on a special edition of Strong Style. How are you, Professor?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. Thanks for having me on, man. I been a long time fan. Very excited to be here.
Definitely so. Just got done training. I wanted to make sure I had enough time to clean up and get all the sweat off and everything. A good thing is I'm the only
I'm
one who can
impressed
smell
you.
myself here.
I'm impressed you mopped all the blood up that quickly. Is
I
everybody?
did. Well, it's a red mat. Actually, it was white when we started. So actually, we haven't mopped it up yet, but we will soon.
You know what? As long as you get around to it, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, sanitary reasons. Just got to be careful.
Yeah. Like,
But
there's like a 48-hour rule, right?
yeah, something like that. I mean, it should be good. We'll just throw some alcohol on it. It'll be fine. But while you were pulling off the impressive feat of drinking while wearing your amazing mask, part of the reason we are having you on is not just because we are big fans and really enjoy what you do, but you are part of the mega card this Sunday at New Realm Brewing. We will talk about your opponent in a second, but what is it like to perform in front of that New Realm crowd? That is a different crowd from anywhere else.
It really is a different kind of crowd. A lot of wrestling shows around the state, they have a lot of traditional wrestling fans.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional wrestling fans are awesome. And, by no means do I have anything against traditional wrestling fans. We
Right.
love those guys. But at New Realm, I feel like it's a different kind of crowd in that we have a lot of casual fans. And I feel like we also have a lot of people who it's actually their first experience with pro wrestling, period. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when they see that, people have this preconceived notion about what pro wrestling is. And once they see it live, it's totally different from what they expected. And I've found that, 9 times out of 10, they end up falling in love with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of fun to perform in front of an audience where so many of them are, actively falling in love with the sport as you are out there in front of them. And, hearing how, the crowd at the beginning of the show, it's loud, but by the end of the show, I mean, they're rabid, they're screaming, they're at the top, they're yelling at the top of their lungs
Mm-hmm.
because they've bought in now. Now that they see what it is, they love it. So, short answer, it's a lot of fun, Jeremy.
It's definitely a lot of fun to be there and report on these and just scream at wrestlers for 2.5 hours because that is one of my most favorite things to do. Obviously, we cheer along with you and your good buddy C Dub, who accompanies you many times to the ring. How did you guys first meet, you and C Dub?
It's funny. If you had asked me when I first started, actually, I think honestly, if you'd asked either of us when we first started out our careers, if we would end up working together, I don't think that either of us would have predicted that we would have been paired up the way that we were. But I'm really glad that we were. Whatever strings of fate or whatever were brought us together, it's worked out really great. Wrestling is, a brotherhood, and that dude is not just my friend; that's my brother. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, a lot of people don't know this. When C Dub and I first started out, we were kind of feuding. He was in love with Gemma Jules, and was asking
Pretty
me
sure
for
that's
some help
over
with
now.
that. Yeah, it seems like forever ago now, right?
Yeah.
But he was in love with Gemma, and he wanted some help. And then I don't know, he ended up stealing my mask, and I got real mad at him. And we had a match, and we started to fight each other. But then, actually, wouldn't you know it, our match got interrupted by none other than Austin Towers. Um, and it is funny how things come full circle like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that day, when I got choke slammed onto C Dub, we became very close that day. Um, as one does when you're choke slammed on top of somebody. And we got to talking and realized that we have a little more in common than you might expect. People don't always see that when we're together, when we're out coming to the
Right.
ring, because we got different vibes. But at our cores, we both want to be successful. We want to go to the top of Deep South, and even though we, might look really differently getting there, we want to get there together.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. And yeah, just to catch people up to the modern times now. Pretty sure C Dub is not quite as over the moon about Gemma as he was maybe a year ago. I think that's still part of why he has that neck brace occasionally when his neck acts up on him there. Pretty good way to show that you don't like somebody as much as they like you is putting them through a table and hurting their neck.
I felt really bad for him. I was at an educational retreat that weekend,
Yep.
and I wasn't able to be there. And I mean, he put on my mask, and I mean, he's good now, so it's okay. But the dude's a character. The dude's a wild card. I I try to teach him, I try to teach him, how to make the less less wild choices,
Yeah,
less wild choices, I guess we'll say. But ultimately, I mean, you just got to let him be who he is, and that's what makes him C-Dub, and that's what we love about him.
exactly.
So
And of course, we're on here with Professor Payne, as I said, part of Deep South Mega Card this weekend. And man, there is a lot going on in Deep South. We just had a title change with Apollo taking over, and we've got his faction strength in numbers, and to see what they do. I have seen members of their crew out other places that I have been recently, and it seems like they're almost bullet clubbing. They're just kind of taking over other places they go. But you get it's not really the hand you were dealt. It's the table you decided to sit at. Austin Towers has decided to try to make Eric Adams' life just as much a living hell as possible. And since technically you can't be Booker and you can't be a talent in Georgia at the same time, which Eric was has been told multiple times, in fact, live in front of an audience last time or a couple of times ago. It's actually you this time that has decided you have had enough of Austin Towers. And, what kind of made you want to step up and defend Eric?
so I mean, Eric's been very good to me, and so I don't want this to come off the wrong way. Eric's my friend, and I love him, but Eric's business with Austin. I mean, I came down to to help keep him from making a mistake that he might regret, but
Yeah,
I didn't intend on stepping in there and fighting Austin in that exact moment. But it didn't sit right with me what he did to Buddy.
yeah,
It didn't, and I mean, wrestling is one thing, whatever, there's the spectacle and everything, but some things are sacred.
yeah,
That kid has one moment like that in his life,
yeah,
and rather than give this kid the chance to have that one moment and be the center of attention and honestly celebrate his accomplishment,
yeah,
rather than give that kid that chance, Austin decided to make it about himself, and Austin decided to come down and put that spotlight right on himself,
yep,
and then throw his weight around and talk smack about a kid.
yeah,
A kid.
yep,
I don't. I try not to get like this in wrestling generally. I
yeah.
try to keep a pretty even keel. I try to be positive. I try to be upbeat. I try to be a good role model. I try to be what I wanted my favorite wrestlers to be when I was a kid. But I can't keep that same sense of sportsmanship, that same respect with somebody who's going to treat a kid like that. And so on Sunday, I fully intend on kicking the shit out of Austin Towers.
There you go. And I very much think you can, and it's not because you're my guest here. If he was the guest, I would be ready to make such a case as to how you're going to do so, and I would feel a lot more comfortable doing it over the internet than in person, probably. But once again, I'm not a trained professional athlete, so that's why I do not try to pick fights with wrestlers or MMA or anybody. I'm a little smarter than that. You don't get this far in life just being a pretty face. Sometimes you got to make good decisions. So I very much think it's something you said that day too. Is you basically he was being a bully,
Yeah.
and we don't like bullies. We don't put up with them on this show, and I know you live by that value too. And to catch people up, Buddy graduated high school recently. He is an avid wrestling fan. He might be Deep South number one fan, and
Well, there's no
I will
might.
happily. I will happily call him that. And instead of, he didn't want to walk at his own graduation. So instead, Deep South did a very special graduation walk where he actually walked through the ring, got his very own heavyweight championship belt that you were a big part of in awarding him and everything. It was such a special moment. And then, like you said, when Austin's music hit, I just went, oh no, anybody but this guy. And then, like you said, out he came. He got into it with me. He got into it with other fans that it's just kind of Austin Towers and where he's at.
So uh, let me let me paint an even more clear picture of who this kid is. This isn't just some fan who graduated. We've had most of our shows at Deep South are outdoors, as you know,
Yes.
Jeremy. Um, we have the distinct honor of having the hot or the coldest show in wrestling history, the coldest outdoor wrestling show in history. I believe it was 10 degrees that day. Buddy was
Yep.
there. We've had shows in the sweltering heat in the summer where it's 110 degrees out and Buddy's there. I
Yep.
can't think of a Deep South show that Buddy hasn't been there at. And so when we have a chance to show our appreciation for somebody who has been showing up consistently since day one, for Austin
Yep.
to come in and screw that up for him, I mean that I think that speaks to the character of Austin, and that's a shame. Because I mean, look at the
Yeah.
guy. I mean, he's a giant. He's strong. He's fast. I mean, he is a destructive machine.
Yes.
I'm not under any illusion that what I have to do on Sunday is easy.
No.
I'm stepping in there. This is maybe the toughest match of my entire career, and there is a distinct possibility that I come out of this hurt. But I'm not. If I don't stand up to Austin right now, he's just going to keep on doing this,
Yep.
and he's going to keep on doing it until he finds somebody that he can't do it to. I think that's me.
I agree. I think the buck stops there. I think you standing up to him, and I think everything that you can bring to the table on Sunday, it's something he has not seen before or seen in a long time in his career, and he's had a pretty good career up until this point. But
He
yeah,
has.
it just feels like that is the penultimate, and it's not a David versus Glass because I think you guys are a lot closer than that comparison there. It's yeah, you are looking as the underdog to that, but last time I checked, underdogs win a good amount of the time.
You know, nothing. A friend of mine said that nothing beats a fail but a try. And the thing about me is that I'm not gonna stop trying. I'm not gonna stay down.
Hmm.
If Austin's gonna beat me, he's gonna have to beat me. He is going to have to crush me. He is going to have to leave me incapable of getting up if he wants to stop me. Because I'm not going to quit. I am not going to let Buddy's moment be ruined for nothing. I'm going to teach Austin Towers a very, very tough lesson in respect.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think part of how you're going to do that, it's not just your physical and mental skills and everything that you bring to the table. I've said this to Eric multiple times. I have said it to you. I have said it to our mutual friends, Josh and everybody else. Is that at least in the last year and a half that I've been coming to these shows and reporting on them, you're by far probably one of the most popular, if not the most popular, and by far the most over. Like your music hits, and everybody just immediately is like, "Oh, this is the guy. I really like this guy," and it's crazy. Like I said, it's so organic. It's you're not doing any. You're not trying to go over the top. You're not, paying people off. You're not doing all the crazy normal babyface things everybody does. You're just coming out as you, and everybody is like, "This is the guy I like." People are getting the shirts. I don't have everybody's shirts. I have your shirt. Buddy has
It
your
means a
shirt.
lot, by the way.
There's,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I'm just doing my part. But you look around, and most of the time, if anybody's wearing Deep South merch, it's either Deep South merch or it's Professor Payne merch. And I think the crowd is going to be so behind you that may be that extra gear that you need to potentially beat Austin.
I mean, you cannot possibly possibly overestimate uh, the impact that the crowd being behind me has. I never expected any of that. I never expected to be accepted like this. Truthfully, when I first started this, I mean, my goal was to have a match that I thought was watchable. I wanted to be able to wrestle and say, "Hey, I'm not embarrassed by the effort that I just gave out there." And if I could do that, then I would consider everything a success. I'd consider this all worth it. Um, and I mean to feel the way the crowds embraced me, welcomed me, gotten behind me. It genuinely, I mean, it gets me emotional. It really does because this was a goofy. I thought the mask was something goofy to put on. Professor Payne is me. I am Professor Payne. I come out and I mean I try to be myself. And it means a lot that people seem to be latching onto it. I don't know. I'm not as good at putting myself over here, but I genuinely I
That's
really
okay.
appreciate the kind words, man. It means a lot. And the significance isn't lost on me. I'm just going to keep trying my best, and make everybody that's supporting me, proud and glad that they call themselves a Paniac.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll be cheering hard. Hoping to have a bigger cheering section this time around. The reschedule last time kind of got some people, but I think this time we should be good. 5 p.m. on Sunday, Deep South Wrestling is going to be at New Realm Brewery, just like we've been saying the whole time. By far, this is one of the most. I think this is by far one of the must see matchups. There's a couple good ones on this card. Obviously, there's going to be some new titles handed out, but I think this may actually be the one that if you get a chance to watch one match this this particular afternoon, I think this is the one you definitely have to do. So, in the last couple minutes here, what are kind of maybe your parting words or your final message to the fans, and then ultimately to Austin about what can we expect on Sunday?
Well, to the fans, first of all, I just want to say once again, thank you. You guys are the reason that I feel that I can come out here and do these things. You guys are the reasons that I do this. You guys genuinely make every bump, bruise, and every injury, every ounce of blood that I drop, all of it's worth it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just want to say I'm gonna need that support because I'm about to fight a monster. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Austin, Austin, we've crossed paths before, a couple of times. We had a tag match. You gave me the old goozle and pinned me. Back we were talking earlier. You choke slammed me on top of C Dub. You were tormenting me for a little while there.
Mm-hmm.
But Austin, this is a very different Professor Payne that you're gonna be stepping in the ring with. I've always been highly educated. I've always been highly skilled. I have always been the academic assassin, the teacher of torture, the educator of execution. But this Sunday, you're not getting all of those. You're getting Professor Payne, the fighter, Professor Payne, the man who stands up for what's right, and you're getting Professor Payne, the man who's going to beat you in front of everybody live at New Realm Brewing on June 29th. So, Austin, I need you to take your seat and, for the love of God, shut your mouth because class is about to begin.
Think it can't be put any better than that. He is Professor Payne. As we said, he is taking on Austin Towers, the monster, the bully. We'll see you guys all at Deep South, 5 p.m. Show up a little early, folks, because it packs out really quickly down there at New Realm Brewery. But for Professor Payne, I'm Jeremy the Impact York. This has been a special edition of Strong Style. We'll see you guys down the road. Deuces, gooses. Go watch wrestling.